I get to fully invest myself with whoever and whatever task I'm doing because I know I've set myself up for success because of the boundaries that I have. Boundaries are your friends. Use them.
Putting yourself in different culture situations in different places so that you can understand how different people work to better understand and relate to others. Making sure that you're always going to try to just push a little bit outside that comfort zone. And that is going to put you in a growth mindset in every stage of your life if you can do this throughout everything you do. Welcome back to the Career Advancement Academy. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode, why your lack of personal development is keeping you from your professional growth. If you hadn't had a chance to listen or watch it yet, make sure to go check that out later today, or even send it to a friend or colleague who's struggling to up level in their career.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that is super important, hits close to home for us and for a lot of high achievers. 5 ways your grind is killing you. Today in this episode, we're going to be exploring some of the traditional approaches towards grinding in your career success and how it leads to some really big problems, burnout, health issues, a lot of really not some great stuff. And you know what? I'm really, really excited about the fact that we're talking about this because we're also going to go over some practical tips on how we can help you adopt a healthier, sustainable mindset that supports personal well-being and professional growth. And really why I am so excited to be talking about this is because a lot of our society this day and age, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, high achievement, professional growth in the corporate setting, it really promotes the idea that working tirelessly, the hustle culture, the grinding away, the hustle and that grit is the only path to success. However, what's not talked about as often is that toll that it takes, the cost of the hustle and the grind. And I am a huge advocate, specifically, Jack, you and I together, we are huge advocates of talking about the cost of the hustle, the cost of the grind. And for me, myself, I have gone through 2 specific and full out burnouts that have landed me in the hospital. And because of that, I'm still dealing with physical health issues that I am having to deal with to heal from long extended periods of burnout from working and hustling and grinding in my corporate career. And this approach, it takes a toll. It takes a huge toll on our mental and our physical health, our relationships, our satisfaction with life. And in this episode, I'm going to be diving in with Jack on some of the downsides of this grinding mentality. And we want to explore some ways why and how this is going to be harming you, right? But more importantly, we're going to be talking about some strategies for how you can shift your mindset and how you can get and gain some of that balance so that you can support your career aspirations. You can gain some of that achievement while also supporting your well-being.
Well, I guess let's dive in, and we got to start with the downsides of the grind mentality, right? So before we can move on to the healthier alternatives, let's talk about the negatives. And number one, at the top of the list, it's burnout, right? Constantly pushing yourself to the limit and neglecting yourself and that self-care will lead to burnout, exhaustion, decreased productivity, the lack of enjoyment in everything that you do. These are all signs that you might be experiencing burnout right now. And it's crucial that you recognize these signs and make changes before it starts to take a toll on your mental and physical health.
Yeah. So what is burnout, right? Burnout can really start with a lack of interest or disinterest in what used to bring you a lot of joy. Maybe that starts with your current career. Maybe you loved the job that you were in. You love the career that you're in. You worked really hard for it, but now you're starting to lose interest. You're starting to become disinterested in it. Then it becomes, hey, you're just feeling stressed and tired, exhausted. Like no matter how much sleep that you are getting, it's never enough. Then you might start experiencing some physical, some mental repercussions of this burnout. If it goes extended amount of time, you start losing interest in relationships, in things that used to bring you joy in your personal life. And it's going to lead to decreased productivity, decreased interest in life, depression, mental health issues, physical issues. And again, your body will start shutting down in a lot of different ways. So I want you to make sure if you're feeling this, if you're feeling any signs of burnout, that's a warning that something has to change and you're pushing yourself potentially too hard.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
On to number 2. Next one is strained relationships. I mean, the relentless pursuit of career success. We've heard this story so many times. How many relationships have ended throughout the years for the high achieving, high powered professionals, right? And it's because we focus so much on our career that we end up neglecting our loved ones and building the personal connections in favor of the work dopamine that we get from that satisfaction of seeing success in the professional settings. But eventually, this goes on long enough, it leads to feelings of isolation, potential resentment, and loneliness in a relationship. And building and nurturing meaningful relationships are not only essential for fulfilling professional life, but it also provides the support and networks that you need to be able to contribute to your professional growth.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to the hustle, when it comes to the grind, a lot of times, if that is your only priority and that's your focus, you will absolutely sacrifice your relationships, and in small ways too, in the conversations that you have, in the judgments that you make of other people for not having the hustle and grind, for the judgments that you make of yourself, the strained relationships that you have with yourself. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second, right? You start judging yourself for resting, for taking care of yourself, for sleeping, right? For taking care of your bodily needs like showering or exercise or rest. These are things that you deserve because you are a human being. And those are the things that your body needs, right? And so when you are, and plus just having relationships with other people and having a community, that's something your body and your soul and your spirit and your mind needs too. And when you are constantly on the pendulum of swinging totally to the hustle and the grind, you start losing connection with not only yourself, but with other people, because that hustle, that grind is telling you there's nothing more important than achieving the next thing. And that includes judging yourself and judging others and losing those connections.
That reflection on the self,
It's tough. That's a tough one for me.
That one definitely affects.
Yeah, and we've talked before about how we give grace to other people that we never give grace to ourselves. And why do we do that? Our longest relationship is with ourselves, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, goodness. Wow. To keep it going, the next one we've got on the list is limited perspective. And the grind really gives us that tunnel vision, because solely just focusing on work, neglecting the other aspects, neglecting hobbies, self-care, like Kara alluded to earlier, that personal growth or the ability to develop well-rounded skills or just gain other experiences from being in different environments or around others who just give off a different energy and provide that newness that you're looking for in life. Really, when we don't have the understanding to be able to see everything at a high level and we get so granular and zoomed in, what happens is we see each and everything as it potentially happening to us, as instead of happening for us. And one really quick way to be able to zoom out is to be able to see everything that's happening as an opportunity for you to learn, for you to grow. That doesn't mean it's going to be fun. I promise you that. When I say that, take that with a grain of salt. It is going to be hard. But if you are willing to have that perspective and do the hard work on yourself to be better, to gain new skills, or just look at the world differently, you're going to find yourself in an entirely different spot here in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. This limited perspective thing is huge, right? When you're so focused on grinding and hustling, you limit yourself to just that one project, just that achievement. You cut off input from other people. You cut off input from mentors, colleagues, other relationships that we've already talked about. You only are focused on this one thing, and you start to get into this mentality where you're white knuckling to get that thing done. And there's no flow, there's no ease, there's no innovation, because you are only seeing things through this tunnel vision perspective that Jack mentioned. And you're neglecting other aspects of life, like we mentioned, self-care, investing in other people. And that's where innovation and inspiration comes from, which leads us into that next one, which is diminished creativity. And when you have diminished creativity, again, what you're doing is you're limiting your perspective, you're limiting your productivity too, and you're limiting your innovation and your creativity. This means you have less ideas, you have less ways to grow, you have less ways to see opportunities, and you're being less strategic, frankly, because of the fact that you're not able to give yourself the space, you're not able to let your brain marinate and rest after you've done work, which does not allow your mind to rest and have the space to generate fresh ideas and fresh approaches. You've heard it said, I don't know if you had, if you haven't, let me tell you now, but most people have heard it said, if you're struggling with a problem, look at the problem, go to sleep, and you'll have the answer in the morning. Why is that? It's not some magical thing. It's because your brain is still working when you are resting and when you are sleeping. And that's why when you are giving your brain that space to rest, whether it's sleeping, whether it's shutting off at the end of the day from the office, whether it's going outside in nature, talking to other people, you are opening yourself up to those synchronicities. You're opening yourself up to other ideas. You're opening yourself up to innovation and inspiration, and you actually get more done, and you get it done in more flow and more ease.
It's just so much more enjoyable.
It is. It's so much more fun.
When you're living life that way.
Yeah.
And you can see other ways forward.
Mm-hmm.
Just love it. And really the next one, it's, and we've talked about it, we've alluded to it, it's health issues, right? The grind, usually the rabbit hole you end up going down and leading to is neglecting your physical well-being, and skipping meals, right? We're sacrificing sleep, burning candle on both ends. And because we gotta have a social life too, right? But you still gotta work hard, play hard. It is what it is. But then all of a sudden we don't prioritize ourselves for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And now all of a sudden we're having to go see a doctor because we're actually having physical ailments and we don't know what it is. It could amass itself in a number of different ways. And we don't have to go through that here, but many people have just had these health issues just pop up and they don't know the reason why. And they go to the doctor and they'll ask the doctor and the doctor doesn't know. They can't give them an answer. And sometimes when individuals actually do this work, when they put other things on pause and they focus on themselves, they focus on the inner connection, the self-development, all of a sudden, sometimes these ailments are able to heal themselves.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about health issues, and we alluded to this a little bit last week about, the importance of putting yourself first, and we'll talk about that in the next part, but health issues are extravagant when it comes to stress, burnout, and this hustle culture. Stress is a killer when it comes to your physical and your mental health. Health issues, they stem from this hustle culture, and it's not being talked about. When I talk about mental health problems, when you're in this hustle culture, if you're neurospicy or neurodivergent like I am, those things get exacerbated in and of itself. That's the first thing. The second thing is your depression is going to increase. Your anxiety is going to increase. Your panic is going to increase because you are putting more of that load on your shoulders. And that is going to increase even more when you're feeling burnout and stress. Then those things are going to translate because of the fact that your body is a connected vehicle or organism. Your brain is connected to your heart, which is connected to your gut. And so if you are starting to feel like I have felt throughout my career, uh, whatever it's called,
Intestinal
thank
issues.
you, tummy issues. If you have stomach issues, if you have heart issues, if you have head issues, if you're suffering from migraines, if you're suffering from back pains, if you're suffering from all of these issues, if you can't sleep, if you have anxiety that doesn't quit, these are signs that something is not aligned, and it could potentially be from the fact of there's grind. Now, I'm not trying to minimize the fact of legitimate mental health issues. Please get help and medication and whatever it is that you need. But if your career and your stress and your hustle mentality is contributing to that, there are other ways, and we're going to go over those right now, of shifting your mindset and shifting the way you approach your work to minimize some of those things so that you're taking care of yourself first and working in a better ease and flow.
It's so important. And for those of you who are like, well, how do you know this? How is this possible? There's a stat that says the Monday after daylight savings time, when they push the clock forward, we all lose an hour. That is the highest point of time for cardiac arrest in this country. So losing an hour of sleep, if we're already feeling burnout, if we're already feeling stressed around our job, well, guess what? That is a cocktail that is not good for your health.
And how do we know? Let me tell you just from personal experience, as someone who subscribed to the culture and the grind culture myself, I was only able to get a certain amount of stuff done in one day, and it came at a huge cost. I was suffering from migraines, anxiety, panic attack, and for years, from the age of about 18 to the age of about 33. So that's about 15 years. I was throwing up every single morning from anxiety, every single morning. And to the point of before big meetings, I was throwing up too. That was from anxiety. That was from the hustle. I worked 4 jobs in college and got a double major. I also worked 60, 70, 80 hours in my corporate life. All of this because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. Yet I had 6-week-long migraines that ended me in the hospital. I burnt out, and now I'm dealing with health issues from that sustained amount of burnout and stress that I experienced for 15 years. And I was only able to get so far. I've relearned how to work in a flow state, in a regenerative state, embracing the things that we're going to go over. And yesterday, in 6 hours, I was able to set up we're revamping our product offering. I was able to set up 7 different products within our thing in 6 hours without feeling any stress, anxiety, or panic or depression, any of the things. And I was in a high energy state because of this. This has come after years of mindset work, personal development, etc. But this is why Jack and I are so passionate about sharing our story and sharing this stuff, because literally the hustle culture was killing me. And I am very passionate about helping high achievers because achieving is not wrong. I want to keep achieving, but I want to do it in a way that is sustainable, that helps people and helps myself. So
now that we've examined the drawbacks of the grind mentality, let's talk about the healthier and more sustainable approaches so that we can support your career and overall well-being. First one's work-life integration. Mm-hmm. Work-life integration. That's so interesting. But instead of just striving for like work-life balance, which you hear out there all the time, consider this idea. Try to find ways to incorporate your personal passions, hobbies, self-care practices into your daily routine. By integrating these elements, you can create a more fulfilling, sustainable lifestyle that supports both your personal and professional growth. What does this mean? This means that looking at your current schedule, your current responsibilities, and seeing where your gaps of opportunity are. Where in your time do you have time in the morning, in the afternoon, at lunch, in your schedule to be able to insert a little you time, to be able to better integrate what you need to bring more balance into and more flow into your professional life. Mm-hmm. That is work-life integration. If, for whatever reason, after doing that audit, you find you don't have time, you're just running, maybe we need to look at what we're doing and kind of look at it and try to optimize it and be more efficient with the time that we're awake. If that's able to be done, great, let's do that. But if not, maybe we need to stay up later and do certain things at the end of the day, or we need to get up a little earlier to include that for ourselves, so we can have that better work-life integration.
We have an entire episode on work-life balance, the unreachable dream. Please go check it out. We do highly believe in work-life integration, where if work is a priority for you, your career is a priority, you can have both. It is tough. It is tough at times, especially if you have a family, you are working a career job or multiple jobs. However, with a lot of the other tips that we're going to be mentioning and the tips in that episode, it is possible to prioritize your time. It includes using a lot of time management and setting some boundaries. Speaking of which, that's our next one. It's setting boundaries, right? It's important to set boundaries. Now, boundaries are kind of one of those words. And if you're someone like myself who's a recovering people pleaser, it's tough to set boundaries. But listen, setting boundaries is so important because it actually does such a favor for you and the other people in your life. It protects your time and your energy. Define specific work hours, limit your after hours communication, carve out time for relaxation, carve out time for rejuvenation, carve out time for your self-care. Boundaries help you maintain that work-life balance, that work-life integration. It also helps you prioritize yourself first, prioritize your time, prioritize your energy, and it allows people to know when you are accessible, when you are not accessible, when you're going to be there, when you're not going to be there. Also, it allows you to be very intentional with your time when you are doing the activities you want to do. Why boundaries are so exciting for me is I used to feel very pulled in multiple different directions whenever I was doing anything. If I was on a meeting with someone, I feel really pulled by my email or the other things on my to-do list. Now, by having some very healthy boundaries, time boundaries, space boundaries, and boundaries with the people in my life, I get to fully invest myself with whoever and whatever task I'm doing because I know I've set myself up for success because of the boundaries that I have. Boundaries are your friends. Use them.
Leads us to the next one, which is embracing learning and growth, fostering the mindset of continuing learning and growth. I mean, we talk about it all the time, how important it is to invest in yourself and develop more skills to be a better, more well-rounded professional version of you. And obviously, with that comes learning new experiences, putting yourself in different culture situations and different places so that you can understand how different people work, to better understand and relate to others, making sure that you're always going to try to just push a little bit outside that comfort zone. And that is going to put you in a growth mindset in every stage of your life if you can do this throughout everything you do.
Mm-hmm. We talked last week about developing a curiosity mindset, that learning, that growing, that personal development. It's going to be huge. It's huge, huge, huge to get out of that hustle and that grind. And also with that learning and that growing and that personal development, ask yourself why you feel you need the hustle, right? That's going to be a huge moment for you to help you break out of that hustle. And with that embracing and learning and that growth, cultivating some meaningful relationships is our next one because that's going to help you break out of that hustle and develop some of that creativity and that motivation as well because of the fact that that's what you need, right? To break out of that hustle, innovation, creativity. You're able to achieve even more when you are innovative, when you're strategic, when you're creative. And most of the time, you're able to do that when you're not feeling siloed, when you're not isolated, when you're getting inputs from other people. So having those really good, meaningful relationships, it's going to provide you more guidance, more opportunities, a sense of connection as well.
Yeah. And one of the best ways that I found for myself that when I'm struggling personally, I go help somebody else.
Yeah.
It being able to just get outside yourself, not think about yourself, but being able to just provide value for another person, to be able to help them, that takes you out of whatever it is that you're feeling. And now all of a sudden, it's kind of like a quick reset to get you to the fastest, most positive generated feeling of who you are. But it also then allows you to make sure that you are respecting yourself within this process. Because when we're learning and growing, if we can respect ourselves and not beat ourselves up and not say, oh man, this happened, but we choose to look at it as a learning opportunity. And we're not saying, oh, I'm losing. We're not judging somebody else is doing better than me. And I just say, oh, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. You never lose. You never lose. You never are in a losing position if you're always learning and growing.
Mm-hmm. And our final tip here is to prioritize your self-care. Prioritize, in fact, I'm going to reframe that. Prioritize you. Now, self-care is a buzzword that gets thrown around all the time. And whenever someone says self-care, I get this immediate picture of a bubble bath. Well, I don't like bubble baths. So what does self-care mean for me, right? When I say self-care, I mean prioritizing you first before anything else. Because listen, if there is no you, there is no anything else, right? So what does that mean? We've talked about it on multiple episodes, and I'm going to talk about it again. If you are not putting yourself first in your daily routine, your weekly routine, in your schedule, in your to-do list, whether that is taking care of your mind, taking care of your body, taking care of your hobby, spending quality time with your loved ones, making sure that you're filling up your cup, whatever that means. And most specifically, when it comes to your personal growth and development, what I mean is asking yourself the tough questions, developing that curiosity mindset, asking yourself, why do I feel like I need to continually be in this hustle and grind mentality? Asking yourself, what does my body need right now? What does my mind need right now? How can I best take care of myself right now so that I can be in the best frame of mind, in the best energy, so that I can go and tackle what I need to do today? And doing that first so that you are taken care of. Because far too often, if you are currently in the hustle mentality, in the grind mentality right now, you are putting yourself last, most likely. And what that means is you're not paying attention to your physical health. You're not paying attention to your mental health. You're not paying attention to what you need and what fulfills your soul with joy and happiness, which means all of the other things are getting affected too. Your innovation is going down. Your creativity is going down. Your perspective is getting limited. Your relationships might be suffering. Your mental health and your physical health is suffering. And we want to make sure, if you take anything away from this episode, put yourself first and don't feel guilty about it as much as you can, because you will start to realize once you do, even if it's just for a few minutes a day, the other things will start having a positive ROI. I'm telling you, give it a try just for 1 week.
And that concludes today's episode on the dangers of the grind mentality and the importance of adopting a healthier approach to support your career and overall well-being. By recognizing the downsides, shifting your mindset, and implementing strategies like work-life integration, prioritizing self-care, setting boundaries, embracing the learning and growing mentality, cultivating meaningful relationships, you can achieve both professional success and personal fulfillment in your life. Join us next week as we dive into another crucial topic to help you optimize your career. Until then, remember to work smart, take care of yourself, and find joy in the journey. Thank you for tuning into the Career Advancement Academy podcast.